Hello, and welcome to Penrose. This is a tiling window manager library slash example implementation of a tiling window manager that is written in Rust, very much in the style of something like Xmonad or DWM or Qtile, where rather than have a kind of big monolithic window manager and a config file, and you kind of tweak things via the config file, you are writing source code to extend this. There's an example, and I've tried to make key bindings as sort of user-friendly and easy to work with as possible, so it's not too intimidating if you don't really want to get into writing the code. But this is really sort of intended as a window manager where you make it do precisely what you want. And with that in mind, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of tour of how far I've managed to get in the last 2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks, maybe 2.5. This has turned into a bit of a kind of slightly over-the-top hobby project as I have got a bit sucked into writing an X11 window manager. So yeah, as you can see, I've got screen key running so you can see the key bindings. This is Penrose running at the moment, by the way, not another window manager. And you can jump between windows, the mouse cursor warps, you can drag windows around, so you can sort of swap stuff through to your heart's content. And you can add more windows, you can get rid of windows, you can change the layout. It's kind of a dynamic tiler, again, like Qtile or dmenu, like DWM or Xmonad, rather than something like i3 or BSPWM, where it's a manual tiler that's using tree data structures for things. This is using very simple layout functions that basically say you have this many clients and these parameters currently set by the user, such as how big or small do you want that main area, how many clients do you want in that main area, do you want everything in the main area, do you want everything in the stack, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, other than kind of those parameters, it's literally just a Rust function that says, hey, you have this many clients, tell me where they should go. This is polybar up at the top. I'm wanting to do the kind of DWM built-in bar kind of thing, just because it reduces a little bit of complexity. It means that I have to spawn an extra program, and it's another fun thing to tinker with, but you can expose state out to polybar should you wish. And it's got a systray and polybar, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's working pretty well for a hobby project that's about 2 weeks old. If you have a look on the Git repo, I don't know if anything is now old enough that it'll have the whole thing. I originally started this years ago as an attempt and immediately got stuck and didn't really get anywhere with it. And then oh yeah, there we go, 13 months ago for the Git ignore. But then about 8 days ago, no, it must be older than 8 days ago. I can't have done this in 8 days. That can't be right. No, it's going to be at least a couple of weeks. I've been poking around at this, and yeah, it must be more than 8 days. And yeah, this is where I have got to so far. It's using the XCB library rather than xlib. So it's a little bit different from DWM and PALs in that respect, more akin to Awesome in that respect, but it's not got the kind of Lua stuff from Awesome. It's all configured just in Rust. So you can find all the code here. This is Spinels/Penrose on GitHub. Also being Rust, you can find it on Crates.io. Current version is 0.1.5, which is what you're seeing demoed just now. I haven't made any changes since pushing 0.1.5 earlier today. Documentation is also, due to the wonders of Rust and all the joy of Crates.io, is available from the documentation link here. So things like if you want to see what public methods there are on the window manager for you to play around with, there's a nice big list. There's some fairly minimal documentation at the moment, but I'll be adding more to that and adding some examples as well. And speaking of examples, if we go to Penrose, this is that Git repo, and there is an example config in example Menarus, which shows you how this kind of comes together if you're wanting to use it. So this is just a Rust program. You're importing Penrose as a library. We've got a little bit of logging. We've got the ability to kick off sub-processes. like I said, fairly familiar if you're used to a tiling window manager with a sort of code style config. Here's my workspaces, here's the fonts that are going to be used when I have font stuff. At the moment, this is just kind of ignored. Classes that auto float, colors to use, some default setup for the layout functions and how they should be configured on startup. And then after that, some custom functions that we'd like to run, which I'll come back to in a sec, and key bindings, which are basically one of three things currently. So run an external program, which you can pretty much think as you typed that in the command line with an ampersand after it, so kick that off and don't block the process. Run internal, which basically will run one of those methods on the window manager, so increase the main ratio, decrease the main ratio, kill a client, cycle clients, change layouts, change workspaces, that kind of stuff. Or something like this. So each of those macros is generating you a boxed closure that takes ownership of the window manager temporarily and gives you complete control to do whatever you want with the window manager state and any extra state that you have built up in your main RS kind of config file. Ooh, floating windows work as well. And yeah, with that, that's kind of the main thing I want to do this for. The ability to say, when I hit this key binding, do precisely this. And this is Rust. This is just a Rust program. That can be any function you want. You can do whatever you like. Once you put your key bindings together, you create a connection to the X server. You create your window manager instance itself, passed in with all your config, and off you go. I'm kicking off a startup script, a fairly kind of standard window manager thing. So spawn polybar, set the wallpaper, start some apps, that kind of stuff. And then we drop in and start. And that's about it. I'm adding more all the time, but at the moment, like I said, it's my daily driver. I've been using it for about a week now as my replacement for DWM. And I'm not really finding too much that I'm missing, other than that in DWM will open a kind of pop-up terminal for me, a kind of scratch pad, if you will. And I haven't got that working yet, so that's kind of next on my list. One thing to bear in mind is multi-monitor support is not quite there yet. You can plug in another monitor, it will show up, it will kind of recognize it, but your layout functions will have a bad time. So if you want to use multi-monitor, stay tuned, that's coming soon. But yeah, have a look, let me know what you think, and thanks for checking out Penrose.